I want to tell you lads the tale of the top 5. Instead of having to create hour-long videos ranking every single fucking thing in the entire universe, it was just a simple top 5 best or top 5 worst or something. It was beautiful, especially when it came to COD Zombies. So I thought, fuck it, why not do this instead of try and rank every single thing in the entire fucking universe? The top 5 best endings in 3D Sonic. I've got to make sure I mention that because I feel like some buttplug will send in a 3,000 paragraph essay as to why Hypersonic in the Doomsday Zone should have been on this list. 1, this will be my opinion. 2, this is more about every aspect of a Sonic game's ending, not just if a final boss was fun or if it was the most popular. I'm always really shit at ranking things in order, but for once, I think I've got a list I'm actually happy with. Starting with number 5, it's Sonic Adventure 2, the absolute classic. SA2 is, to this day, my favorite story in all of Sonic. Gave a shadow, and was also just fucking cool, even with all the plot holes. Like Rouge was spying on Eggman for the president, which means technically it was the president's fault that Prison Island was nuked and the moon got its back blown out. In other words, the 9/11 on the moon was an inside job. I just love how they didn't hesitate with the stakes in this game. Sonic and Shadow's rivalry was built up perfectly throughout the game, leading to them being equals and respecting each other. It's just a shame that never really stayed like that, but the endgame was a big one for this time. Like, the two teams are just massive rivals, and in the end it's revealed Eggman's granddad was the villain the whole time that had his own plan to destroy the planet. It's genuinely a cool plot twist that I can't say was obvious. Now everyone has to team up in a final gauntlet of pure fucking AIDS to get to the Chaos Emeralds, turn them shits off, but it can't be that easy now, can it? In the end, revealing the prototype of Shadow. Yeah, they both have tails, I can see the resemblance. I can believe that Gerald went for a big black hedgehog for the ultimate life form because of the mural from Sonic 3 and Knuckles showing Super Sonic. It even makes sense why Shadow's quills match Super Sonic's from Adventure 1. Also, I've always wondered, if Super Sonic's quills were spiked up like how they are now, back in Adventure 1, would Shadow's have ended up looking the same when they was making him? If so, that's a massive fluke because Shadow would have looked 10 times more shit. Either way, Shadow being reminded of Maria's true promise, having a tear in his eye and joining the rest to save the day. Amy does fuck all in the story, but she's like the rat from Avengers Endgame, just basically saved the world and didn't even fucking know it. Shadow's battle with the Bio Lizard is the final normal challenge before having to go super and finishing this horny bitch. The final boss has a weapon of mass destruction in its ass. This shit gave us live and learn, and I can't wait to see it in Sonic 3. Thing is, I'd say this ending is cooler than a lot of others on this list. Shadow's sacrifice is a big moment. Him remembering Maria's wish, crying, then giving his life to the planet, it's beautiful. It's just a shame it's gonna forever be ugly as shit on Adventure 2. Look, my appreciation for the adventure game stories can only really come from Sonic X, and I don't think I'd love this story as much if it wasn't for that. But we're talking about games, so this deformed-looking Oscar-worthy final battle is left at the bottom of the list. Number 4 goes to Sonic and the Black Knight. Still one of my favorite Sonic games, and half of that is because it just had a near perfect story from start to finish. Didn't need to check any boxes, it was just really fucking good. I also like the idea of fake endings the storybook games had, although Black Knight's one was stupid because you get credits after the halfway mark. King Arthur is made to be the main villain and final boss, and if this was a 2010 Sonic game, it legit would have ended right there. But fuck that, right after that boss fight, Melina, being the traitorous bitch, reveals she wants to make the kingdom immortal by spreading her AIDS all over it so that no one can catch it or something. I don't fucking know. Escaping the crumbling castle is such a cool and intimidating stage. Like, when you go outside and see the damage being done, it's just so sick, and also looks kind of scary, especially from the fact that you're running away from it. It all leads to a final confrontation, and the cutscene before the super transformation is incredible. I'd love to see it fully animated. It is impressive how animated the cutscenes for Black Knight were, since they're just images on screen. The scene kind of starts off somber, then immediately shit goes down. Melina ain't playing no games no more. She kills Caliban like the bitch she is, and batters Sonic so badly. Probably the worst beating he's ever taken in the franchise, and I love how this scene barely holds anything back. Sonic straight up is getting ragged around by Melina and still refuses to give up. This is how you write Sonic the Hedgehog. Even when he says,
I just gotta do what I've gotta do.
Only thing that kind of annoys me is, what even is the long lost light of the Sacred Sword? Sorry, that shit needed more explaining. Other than that, the boss fight was great. Used to be my favorite in the franchise. I love the song With Me, and the setting alone shows the stakes. Kind of. In the end, we get Jason Griffith's final moment as Sonic with a beautiful message that is kind of iconic and still shared across social media to this day. Live Life is a beautiful song as well and criminally underrated. However, I got no problem Sonic being crowned King Arthur. I just feel like it doesn't conclude this adventure well enough. It's a light-hearted scene, but I don't know, it feels so random, like they couldn't figure out how to close it out and just said, fuck it, bow before him. They bowing down to this geezer that didn't exist like 2 hours ago. And is he even the chosen one? Or could anyone have just pulled Caliban out out that thing. At least in Secret Rings, they make it clear that he is a chosen one. Like, it's a legend that Sonic was gonna come and save the day. That's not in Black Knight. So, did it have to be Sonic, or could it have been anyone? Number 3 is Sonic Unleashed. If you know me, and you know how hard I usually suck off Unleashed, then you might be wondering why it's only at number 3. This was literally the best endgame. Well, things have changed, for obvious reasons. Unleashed held nothing back, and was shat on. Unleashed endgame starts with what is, to this day, the hardest level in Sonic. Take everything that made the game difficult in the first place, because Unleashed is not fucking easy. Throw that shit away, redo it, except multiply the bullshit by 1,000. When Jason recorded his death screams, I wouldn't be surprised if he was just playing the stage. But the fact that this endgame is such a massive challenge is why I love it. It should make you want to shove a broken bottle up the shit out. You have to earn the ending. Everything you learn through the game is being tested. Now that is what an endgame should be. And just the fact that it is Eggman Land as well. Respect. No holding back. As I said, they went big. Beating that shit starts the final 3 bosses. A final werehog fight, which was one of the best in the game. Get off my dick! One thing I love so much is the CG cutscenes as well. Unleashed is still yet to be topped. Dark Gaia rises, and I've said before, I'll say it again, that shit gave me nightmares. He's still the most terrifying looking thing ever. How the fuck can you beat this thing? Unfortunately, the Dark Gaia boss fight is just kind of dead. They went for more style, which isn't the worst in the world because Eggman Land was already a fucking punishment, and the day stage segments on the Gaia Colossus are also kind of bullshit. So the last challenge is nice and calm, just as a send-off. The final battle isn't the most intense, and the music sells this really positive moment, as if you already won from the start, like you didn't even have to play it. The game was already over. And the final moments of Unleashed feel nice and satisfying. They conclude this massive journey. I just think the ending is actually more forgettable than what goes on in most of the game. But because of the massive scope of it, I will still always love it. Number 2 is the Final Horizon. I already talked a lot about this in my Frontiers review, but when I love summer, it becomes my golden child that needs the ass licking of a lifetime. I take that shit back. Don't actually lick children's asses. The thing I'll always love about this ending is that the developers did everything they could to fix their shit. That rarely ever happens in anything. They retcon their mistakes. Who knows what else they are capable of? Firstly, they undo the terrible blue ball. That moment at the end of Rear is still disgustingly painful, but having it just become undone makes up a little bit. Having the other playable characters was cool, but I think the developers wanted us to just experience this final boss as soon as possible. I mean, I know for a fact I did. I didn't care about Amy, Knuckles, or Tails or anything else. I just wanted to see how they fixed the ending. And a lot of the Final Horizon can just be skipped over completely. Like cyberspace, fighting the Guardians, playing as Tails. Climbing the Trial Towers was a great final challenge as normal Sonic. They were made with the spin dash, aka the fun, in mind. You do have infinite lives, but I wouldn't be surprised if these shits push people to take their own lives. At the end of the day, get fucking good at the game. I'm sorry, there really is just a skill issue with the towers, but I can't blame people for struggling because the game barely lets you actually play the game properly, so a lot of these challenges are just out of nowhere surprises. But it's how Sonic games should be. The automation should be a moment to just relax. The speedy spectacle is a reward, and they've really made it feel like that because a lot of the automation has some sick-ass camera angles, way better than what most of the game already has. That's step 1 though. We all know about step 2. Okay, they patched it to make it easier, but I never minded it because I eventually got good with the original perfect parry. I played this boss rush constantly because I love the Titan fights that much, so instead of battle rush, I just used this trial, and I'm proud to say, I beat this shit on hard mode with the original perfect parry. I'm too fucking sick, so bow down and suck me. This thing was fucking hard though, and rightly so. Once again, you gotta earn this shit. But this time it feels even more rewarding, because this is them fixing the final boss. So just me wanting to see how they did it is what got me through this cunting bullshit. I've heard a lot of people were actually so frustrated with the Master Trial, it kind of ruined the final boss for them. But nah, I was too gassed when I beat it. I only give the game more respect. And this final boss, you get one chance for it to be magical. By the way, if your first time doing it wasn't a perfect experience, you probably think of this boss fight differently than the way I do. For me, it was the same as fighting Giganto and hearing Undefeatable for the first time. Everything was just too fucking perfect. Get this shit one out the way. I'm glad they didn't change the old Supreme health. At this point, he's just there for the sake of context. The only thing I do wish they did was restore his old quick time event. It's in the mod menus. So what's stopping you fuckers from doing it? But after beating it, the Titan then rises up and then falls down. But then it rises up, and then falls down again. But then it rises up, and it's Dark Gaia all over again, just not as gory. Imagine if this was in Unleashed CG quality. The thing this ending has over almost every single other thing is just how hard Frontiers goes. This is the best final boss we've ever gotten, and I knew Frontiers was gonna have it from the beginning until those retards proved me wrong, only to prove me wrong again. The new super form is a cool one-time transformation. The Beast Supreme is creepy as fuck. I underestimate how creepy it looks when you let Supreme destroy the shield and kill all your friends. I mean, you'll almost never see that, but fuck me, is it kind of scary. But the stakes are set. The moon above your head just looks amazing. That's all it needed. The style is non-stop. See, Unleashed went only for style, but this had style and amazing gameplay, and the trees are not that bad. The way it's finished off is fantastic. Kellen's voice while Eggman is saving the day just got all of us. I wanted to cry with its ending, mainly because of the amazing job they did to save it. Frontier's ending could have gone in the piles of heaping shit, but no, they gave us what the game deserved. It was the cherry on top. Sonic is back. Although it does feel like the true final boss is just the arms. Like, going far back, it's all you see. The way they move is what gives people nightmares. And it was like the big thing they did to change this boss fight. They wanted this final challenge to stand out by actually being dangerous. At first, you can't parry, and you lose rings when you get hit. The perfect parry, the bane of all existence, is literally the upgrade that we were waiting for. Except because this fight was made with it in mind, it works perfectly and turns me on. If you have less than 100 rings and trigger phase 3, you lose instantly. Otherwise, you're left with only 100 rings, which is perfect because almost everyone would have had max rings by now. The trials before were meant to prepare you as well, with faster enemies, timing your parry to projectiles, fighting a ninja that can heal. It meant nothing though because the difficulty went down and then spiked up to the heavens. The moment where Sonic loses his super form, then gets straight back into it. I was so lucky my music was timed perfectly in my first playthrough though, without even trying.
I just straight up died!
The final QTE was perfect, bullying this lanky twat into the moon, finally becoming Cybersonic while we all wanted to see. Because it's used for the final blow and the excuse is going too far with the power means Sonic loses it. I'm fine it wasn't the playable super form that I wanted it to be. Like Dark Sonic, it lasted a few seconds, but I'll never forget it. Although I just wish that Sonic didn't have his pupil. Probably would have looked so much more sick if his eyes were pure white like Dark Sonic. But who gives a fuck, we'll never see that super form again. Ending the game the same as the first one for Sonic and friends. They go home and the bombastic riff of I'm Here to send off just feels that much more amazing to hear. But then we see Eggman and Sage being together, and that made me want to tear up. This whole final boss did, to be honest. The fact that this final boss itself is so fun makes this ending so strong. But the actual ending is just, yeah, that happened, who cares, let's go home. It works this time around though, not like Lost World where nothing happened and Sonic just takes a fucking nap. Because something incredible happened and it saved Frontiers for me. But now you're probably wondering, if that was number 2, then what the fuck was number 1? Honestly, lads, brace yourselves, because I give it to Sonic 06. I praised Eggman Land for years because they went all out for it and left 06 in the dust constantly because the game was ass. But thanks to Project 06's existence and knowing the full game will soon become fully functional from start to finish, I feel I can say yeah, 06 is the best ending in the franchise history. No, I'm not taking the piss. 06 feels like a movie. Not a single other Sonic game has that strength. Black Knight are slow animated cutscenes. Adventure 2 is ugly as fuck. Frontiers is mostly just about the strong dialogue. Unleashed doesn't actually have many cutscenes in its story. Once the objective is clear, it's mostly text box dialogue. Sonic's shadows and Silver's opening and endings are things I'd expect to see on the big screen. I'm sorry, Blaze. There's only 7 Chaos Emeralds. There's no room for you in the last story. So for that alone, I'll always love the story in 06. For me, it's not about what makes the most amount of sense. It's more about that there's the most amount of wicked or emotional moments to remember forever. Things I remember this game back when it was out, when I was younger. A lot of things did just make sense. 06's story problems, 9 times out of 10, are only problems when you start to actually think about it and question it. Well, with some exceptions. Like Like, to me, the rule where Elise isn't allowed to cry, otherwise it's the end of the world, for some reason that just made sense to me back in the day. But realistically, the problem is they didn't really make that rule clear enough. And then the thing is, she's not allowed to feel overwhelming amount of sadness, otherwise it's the end of the world. Because there are a lot of other things that can make you cry. And if you're gonna tell me that she went her whole life without tearing up a single bit when her dad literally just died and she was a fucking child, you're asking for everyone to call out your bullshit. Thing is, this endgame has a weak start. Everyone's story wraps up nicely, but Mephiles just says fuck it and decides to actually win. He was looking for Chaos Emeralds and sent Silver to kill Sonic. They also make it clear Iblis will be released when Elise dies anyway. So why not just kill Elise? I don't fucking know. I like to try and imagine that Mephiles purposefully set everything on this path because he can time travel and already knows the exact events that has to take place just to make sure when he kills Sonic, Elise cries. But that doesn't exclude how Mephiles can just warp all the emeralds to him instantly. They went through all the dumb shit that they did just to kill Sonic. Either way, from the moment all the characters are left in the time-space rift as the world is ending, yet the stakes are mental. They treat Sonic's death perfectly for the fact this game was made in 7 days. They got this moment right. Eggman announcing his death to everyone as the camera slowly pans and we see everyone's reaction. It's a devastating moment for these characters. Their world is gone and their friend is dead. The Team Optimist, who knows there is always another way, isn't alive to be able to say that anymore. Shadow knows they need Sonic to do this, but then a miracle happens and Elise feels his presence in the wind. Fuck off. The end of the world stage is also terrifying. The music, the aesthetic. I'm kind of scared how Chaos X will amplify this. This game sells the urgency. The world is ending. There isn't a lot of time to get all the emeralds. And yes, the kiss is bad, but everything else in that scene was fucking perfect. Sonic saying thank you. The music, his super form is a little bit weird. This is the last time we've seen Super Shadow and the only time we ever saw Super Silver, but the Super Hedgehog trio is still my favorite final battle team-up. It just feels so perfectly earned. These characters are all completely different from each other, and they come together to win. And the final boss itself isn't even too bad. It was one of the best at the time, to be honest. But what I love the most about it is the second phase. It's a moment that has a massive build-up, but then all the characters is what makes this moment so grand. It's not cool or memorable because of the set piece, but because of everyone. Generations ruined this trend of all characters rooting for you, but this game did it so perfectly, with everyone so hopeful, and nothing, and I mean nothing, has topped the power of Solaris Phase 2's music. I'm Here Orchestral was close, but this song is yet to be beaten, and the 3 hedgehogs representing different times is what holds this time travel story together, I feel like. Silver's from the future, Shadow's from the past, Sonic lives in the present. I genuinely still feel like wanting to cry when I go through this. And when Chaos X is done, with it a lifetime of free blowjobs, so that man is in order. But even after all is done, the final cutscenes are genuinely so impactful. For one, it's all CG, so it makes this the most beautiful looking ending we've ever gotten. Elise is finally free to cry, and understandably she's upset that blowing out the flame means she'll never meet Sonic. I mean, at least it means the kiss is erased from time. People hated Elise, and honestly rightly so, but this moment is still lovely. Ending where the story began, all is right with the world, everyone can live in peace, and that final shot of Sonic looking at the moon as it fades out with the music. The most cinematic ending we've ever had. The most closure I've ever felt after finishing a game. The most conclusive I feel like any Sonic game could have been. A lot of people will disagree, and that is honestly fine, but I never let this one single dirty kiss ruin the most cinematic ending of all time. That is my ideal Sonic ending, at least. But anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I appreciate you people for watching. So all I can say now is leave a like, subscribe, don't fuck animals, it's bad, and cheers, lads! And until the next time, you have a good one.